Hello everybody, my name is Jasmine Elizondo and this is my Chapter 9 discussion for formative and summative assessments. Assessments are a tool that teachers can use to collect information on students' knowledge, skills, and attitudes. Teachers can then make changes to improve the students' learning and performances. There are two forms of assessments presented in Lynch's The Call to Teach, which are formative and summative assessments. Formative assessments is the ongoing collection of information during the teaching of a lesson in order to check for students' understanding. I have 5 examples of formative assessments while there are many out there. The first is Think, Pair, Share, Learning Logs, 4 Corners, Individual Whiteboards, and Group Discussions. Think, Pair, Share is the first example I will talk about. The teacher decides upon the text to be read and develops a set of questions or prompts that target key content concepts. The teacher then describes the purpose of the strategy and provides guidelines for discussions. As with all strategy instruction, teachers should model the procedure to ensure that students understand how to use the strategy. To begin, the students will think about what they know or have learned about the topic after the teacher has said a specific question. Then they will pair with another student or a small group. Then the students will share their thinking with their partner, and the teachers will expand their share into a whole class discussion. Learning logs. Teachers and students can use learning logs during the formative assessment process, as students record what they are learning and the questions they still have, and the teachers will monitor the students' progress toward mastery of the learning's targets in their log entries and adjust instruction to meet the students' needs. Learning logs are used for students' reflections on the material they are learning. In the log, students record the process they go through in learning something new and any questions they may need to have clarified. This allows the students to make connections to what they have learned, set goals, and reflect upon their learning process. 4 Corners. 4 Corners is a quick strategy that can be used to gain a student's understanding of the subject or topic being discussed. 4 corners can be used for multiple choice questions. The teacher would have to label the corners of the classroom as A, B, C, and D. The teacher will then ask the students a question with multiple choice answers, and the students will respond by choosing the answer they feel is correct and standing in that corner. They must be able to give a reason for their answer. Another way that the teacher can use 4 corners is by engaging the students in conversations about controversial topics. If the classroom were to be labeled strongly agree, disagree, and strongly disagree, the teacher will have the students answer a question or talk about, for example, all students should wear uniforms to school. And then the students will move to a corner that expresses their opinion. The students could then discuss how they feel the way they do. Individual whiteboards are a great way to hold all students in the class accountable for their work. They actively involve students in the learning, and this assessment gives the teacher immediate information about student learning. When students complete their work and hold their whiteboard up, the teacher can quickly determine who is understanding and who needs help, and adjust his or her instruction accordingly. Group discussions. Group discussions can tell the teacher much about student learning and understanding of basic concepts. The teacher can initiate the discussion by presenting students with an open-ended question. Students can gain knowledge from each other by participating in these group discussions. The goal is to build knowledge and develop critical and creative thinking skills. Discussions allow students to increase their depth and understanding while sharing information and expanding their knowledge. Summative assessments. Summative assessments take place at the end of a lesson or unit in order to determine if the students have mastered the materials or skills that were taught. I have listed 5 examples of summative assessments, which are chapter exams, benchmarks, essays, state assessments, and final projects. Chapter exams are administered by teachers at the end of a chapter to assess what the students have learned from the pertaining chapter. They can be in multiple choice, true or false, and open-ended. Teachers use this assessment to evaluate the student's knowledge, proficiency, and success at the conclusion of a chapter. Chapter exams can be used in various subjects such as math, social studies, science, and history. Benchmarking in education occurs when measurable standards are set for learning. For example, benchmarks might be set for the concepts that must be mastered in each grade. They might also be used to see where a particular student, class, or even school ranks in comparison to others. Teachers can use benchmarking to improve performance among specific students or even among students at large and at-risk schools and districts. Benchmarks can also help with student placement. Essays. Essays are good for assessing thinking, reasoning, and expression skills. This assessment gives the student an opportunity to demonstrate knowledge of relationships. It's also good for teachers because it gives them an insight on how the students process knowledge and display their level of understanding of the material they've learned. State assessments. This formal assessment is an example of a high-stakes test where the student would have to pass in order to graduate to the next grade level. State assessments are done once a year towards the end of the academic year. The State of Texas Assessments of Academic Readiness is an example of a state assessment used in Texas, most commonly known as the STAR test. Lastly, its final project. The final projects are a fun way for students to display their knowledge on a given subject. In a final project, the teacher can ask the student to present a model or a poster showing what they have learned about the solar system, for example, and the teacher can then assess what the student has learned and grade the project. Projects can be used at the end of a lesson, chapter, or semester. It depends on the subject or area the teacher would like to assess. The student would have to apply what they have learned about the topic and present to the classroom. These were my 5 examples of formative and summative assessments. Thank you for listening.